You pick it up before you even decide to. Your thumb finds the screen. Your eyes scan for something new. Nothing happened. You put it down. 30 seconds later, you pick it up again. This isn't a habit. It isn't weakness either. It's something much older than the phone in your hand. To understand why you do this, you need to go back almost a century to a small box built by a psychologist named B.F. Skinner. Inside that box was a pigeon, and inside the pigeon's world was a lever. Every time the pigeon pressed the lever, sometimes it got food. Not always, not on a schedule, just sometimes, at random. And here's the strange part. That pigeon didn't press the lever less because the reward was unreliable. It pressed the lever more. Skinner called this variable ratio reinforcement. In plain English, it means a reward that shows up unpredictably is more addictive than a reward that shows up every single time. Predictable rewards satisfy you. Unpredictable ones hook you. Why would evolution build a brain that works this way? Think about your ancestors, foraging across a landscape long before agriculture existed. Some bushes had berries, some didn't. Some hunts ended in meat, most didn't. A brain that gave up after one failed search would starve. A brain that kept checking, kept scanning, kept trying, just in case, that brain survived. You inherited that brain. Every neuron built for scanning an unpredictable landscape for food is still in your skull today. It just doesn't know the landscape changed. Decades after Skinner's pigeon, a neuroscientist named Wolfram Schultz ran a very different experiment, this time on the brains of primates. He wasn't studying levers. He was studying dopamine, the chemical your brain releases when something good happens. Schultz expected dopamine to spike when the reward arrived. That's not what he found. Dopamine spiked hardest in the moment right before the reward, in the uncertainty. When the outcome was guaranteed, dopamine barely moved. When the outcome was uncertain, dopamine surged. Your brain isn't actually rewarding you for getting something good. It's rewarding you for not knowing whether you will. Now hold that thought and look down at the object in your pocket. Every time you unlock your phone, you are pulling a lever. Maybe there's a message. Maybe there's a like. Maybe there's nothing at all. You don't know until you check. And that not knowing is precisely the mechanism your dopamine system evolved to chase. This isn't an accident of design. A researcher named Natasha Schull spent years studying the people who build gambling machines, watching how slot machine designers engineer what they call, quite openly, the zone. The state where a person stops gambling to win and starts gambling simply to keep playing. Schull found that the most profitable machines weren't the ones with the biggest jackpots. They were the ones that delivered small, random rewards often enough to keep a hand moving toward the button. Sound familiar? Every pull to refresh gesture on your phone is modeled on a slot machine lever. Every notification badge is a small, unpredictable reward, dressed up as a red dot. The people who built these systems studied Skinner's pigeon and Schultz's primates carefully. They didn't stumble onto your attention. They engineered a path straight to it. But here's where it gets stranger and more human. Your ancestors weren't just scanning a landscape for food. They were also scanning something else, something that mattered just as much for survival: their social group. For most of human history, you lived in small bands of maybe 30 to 150 people. Your survival didn't depend only on finding berries. It depended on knowing where you stood, who was angry with you, who was an ally, whether the group still valued you enough to share its food, its protection, its warmth around the fire. Being cut off from that group wasn't an inconvenience. It was a death sentence. So your brain built a second system, running alongside the food search system, dedicated entirely to social monitoring. A constant, quiet background process asking one question: am I still safe here? Am I still included? This is why a notification doesn't feel like a piece of information. It feels like a verdict. When your phone buzzes, some part of your mind, the same part that once scanned faces around a fire, asks, does this mean I still belong? A like feels like a nod from the group. A message feels like proof you haven't been left behind. Silence, on the other hand, feels like something closer to exile. You are not checking your phone because you're bored. You are checking it because a 50,000-year-old alarm system is asking whether the tribe still wants you. And because that system evolved for small bands of people you actually knew, It wasn't built to distinguish between 150 faces and 150 million strangers on a screen. Your brain treats a strangers like the same way it once treated a nod from someone who might share their fire with you tonight. This is also why checking your phone rarely satisfies you the way you expect it to. Because the reward isn't really the message. It's the momentary resolution of uncertainty. And the moment that resolves, a new uncertainty opens right behind it. Did they read it? Will they reply? Was that the right thing to post? Skinner's pigeon never learned to stop pressing the lever. It couldn't. The system was built to keep it pressing. You are not weaker than that pigeon. You are running the same code, dressed in a much more sophisticated cage. There is something almost tender in this, once you see it clearly. The urge you feel to check your phone isn't a flaw in you. It's a very old form of care. Care for your place in the group. Care about whether you are still safe among others. Misfiring in an environment your ancestors could never have imagined. Knowing this doesn't switch the system off. You can't outthink 50,000 years of wiring with willpower alone. But you can do something your ancestors never had the chance to do. You can recognize the mechanism while it's happening. You can notice the itch to check and know in that instant that you're not actually starving for information. You're a very old animal asking a very old question in a room full of strangers who were never designed to answer it. So tonight, when your phone buzzes and your hand moves before your mind decides anything, pause for just 1 second. Not to resist it, just to notice it. You picked it up before you even decided to. Now you know why.